Yeah, so welcome everyone to our Youth Voices Candidate Forum. Tonight we are honored to welcome Mr. John Krummen and Mr. Paul Leong to the figurative stage. So we'll be having 6 of our awesome Youth Voices students being our hosts today: Alex, Sophie, Parikh, Hillary, Emily, and Hannah, and they'll be introducing themselves as we move along. So I don't want to steal their thunder, so Zach is going to say a few words and then we'll hand it over to the students.
Yeah, howdy everyone. I'm Zach. You guys all know me. So today we have 6 of our students hosting this event. They've all worked really, really hard to prepare some really great speeches for you guys and address the crowd. And obviously these kids are, 11, 12, 13 years old. So at the end, we'll all give them a big round of applause for their hard work. But with that, I'm just gonna go over our basic agenda. So first we're going to have an opening address from Alex, then we're going to meet the candidates and we're going to introduce both of them. We're going to introduce both of them more in depth, and then both of our candidates are going to have some time to introduce themselves, their vision and their goals for Naperville. And then at that point, we're going to leave a lot of time, up to 40 minutes, for our students to ask some pre-prepared questions, but also for our audience to ask questions to Mr. Leong and Mr. Krummen. So go ahead and put all of your questions in the Zoom chat, but private message them to me or Will so that we can all see them, and then we'll have room for a couple, actually quite a few audience questions. And then lastly, we'll have like a very brief closing address and we'll be done for the night. So without further ado, I'm going to hand the stage over to Mr. Xie.
Hello, buddy. Hello, everybody. Sorry. My name is Alex, and I'm currently an 8th grader at Twin Groves Middle School. So without further ado, I'll just go with my speech. Good evening, everyone. I'm so glad that everybody could make it to tonight's wonderful event. My name is Alex. Well, I already introduced myself, but first, before I continue, I would just like to thank Zach, April, Will, and all the organizers of this event for putting this entire thing together and providing us students a chance to speak and meet with 2 of our local politicians. Personally, I've been a student of Youth Voices. Youth Voices started out as an organization aimed to empower students through the use of debate and speech. In our classes, we focus predominantly on congressional debate, although recently, Youth Voices has opened a speech program as well. During these sessions, we run different drills, mock debates that allow students to express themselves, developing critical, analytical, and communication skills. These skills not only will help us tremendously in the world of debate, but will also translate to the real world. Which brings me to today's event, where we'll be holding a Q&A with 2 of our local politicians, John Krummen and Paul Leong, both of whom will get introduced later. I believe this event is very special since it provides us with the to practice the skills we have all been working on and also to engage in thoughtful political dialogue. This is extremely important as many kids in this generation aren't able to form their own opinion due to the multitude of dishonest and misleading information available. Educating yourself about politics and being able to express your opinion confidently will be a huge advantage no matter what you choose to pursue in life. Furthermore, tonight's event highlights some of the amazing candidates we have running in our local elections. Although the stakes of local elections might not be as widely reflected as the presidential elections, its outcome will define our community and impact all of our lives. This is why I urge everyone of age in this meeting to go and cast their ballot and let their voice be heard. And hopefully, throughout this Q&A, we can help answer some of the lingering questions you still may have. After all, our voices will always be our most important asset, which is why it is absolutely crucial to know how to use it. And now I pass it down to Sophie, who will be introducing the 2 politicians we have with us tonight. Sophie.
Thank you, Alex. Hello, my name is Sophie Chen, and I'm a freshman at Catamagnet High. I'm a member of the Youth Voices organization, and I'm so excited to be here tonight and have the opportunity of introducing our guest speakers. Joining us tonight are 2 remarkable politicians and fathers, both of whom have the drive and the fortitude to enhance and guide Naperville into the future. They have advocated, led projects, funded, and listened to suggestions to improve their city, our city. Both of these gentlemen are running for positions on the Naperville City Council this April and have extensive backgrounds in local politics. Paul Leong has lived in Naperville for 22 years. He is a member of the Naperville Community District 203 Board of Education. During his time on the board, Mr. Leong has lowered property taxes, reduced debt levels, and lowered the general levy by $2 million. In his work on the school board, he's been familiarized with several aspects of the city's government and has gained valuable experience in doing so. He's looking to improve Naperville so it can remain a place others aspire to come to and raise families within. John Krummen has been a Naperville resident for 17 years and a member of the Naperville City Council since 2015. Throughout his tenure, he's helped to reduce Naperville's debt by $60 million and has taken various measures to promote safety within the city, like penalizing vape usage and securing funds for police crisis training. He's constantly listening to suggestions and hoping for a more community-based Naperville. We are so lucky to have two faithful public leaders joining us to engage in some important political discussion. I'd like to again thank both of you for taking the time to be here with us tonight. And now to the main event. Please join me in welcoming Paul Leong and John Krummen.
I think Sophie took care of my intro, but I'll read through it as faithfully as I can. Hi, my name is Paul Leong, and I am running for Naperville City Council. First, I would like to thank Youth Voices for allowing me to join in this forum. I would also like to thank John Krummen for serving and leading in Naperville for so many years. For the last 4 years, I have been serving Naperville School District 203, and I have been learning how to serve, how to govern, and how to lead. During that time, I have lowered property taxes and still maintained a high level of academic achievement. I reduced the district debt to the minimum, saving millions in interest per year. I abated the debt levy for the last 3 years, saving more than $2 million per year. I lowered the general levy by $2 million permanently for the first time in Naperville history, and I approved a tax reimbursement of $10 million, also for the first time in Naperville history. When I step down, I will leave a healthy surplus for the next board. My degrees are in finance and economics, and I have worked as a financial analyst and an IT professional for decades. I believe that good government needs to be efficient, effective, and provide financially responsible decision-making and leadership. I have lived in Naperville for more than 20 years, and this town has been very good to me. I moved here from Chicago to work at Bell Labs when I was still single and loved the exciting entertainment available downtown. Later, I got married, and both my kids were born at Edward Hospital. I now appreciate the great schools of our town. My understanding is that Naperville is a great place to retire. I want to preserve and protect what benefited me and my family and adapt and improve to ensure that future generations can enjoy the same. I was the first Chinese American to be elected to any office in Naperville, and I'm so proud to see others stepping up to lead and serve. I have been serving you for the last 4 years. Please allow me to continue to serve you by electing me, Paul Leong, to the office of Naperville City Council. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Paul. So I guess my turn. My name is John Krummen. Hello, everyone. A little bit about me. I'm a master's degree mechanical engineer. I also have an MBA. My first job out of college was driving Corvettes around the GM Proving Grounds. That was a long time ago, but I had to drive a Corvette at 120 miles an hour, and I got paid to do it. So it was a lot of fun. I have an automotive patent. Over 30 million of them have been made. They're on every Ford that comes off the line. And I have published technical papers in automotive design. I'm also currently an adjunct professor of economics at North Central College. So I understand the technical side of things and I understand the financial side of things. All my time at City Council, I've served on chairman of the Public Utility Advisory Board, which is your electric and water. Championed the creation of the Sustainability Task Force that was just created about a year ago. And I'm also on the Financial Advisory Board as well. So I'm on bond call when we talk to Moody's and to Standard & Poor about our bond rating. I'm on that call, and it's because of my economic and financial background. I love being on City Council. It's a job where I get to do so much for so many. And the main thing I like to do is bring people together. There was if you've all been to the local Starbucks, the new one that's there at Gartner and Washington, it's a white building. That project was in danger of not going forward. And I did not understand the resistance by the neighbors. So I got together, I sat down with the neighbors, sat down with the developers, talked it through, and I said, what is the real problem? And it took a couple of meetings to get to it, but the real problem was one household didn't want headlights in their picture window. Well, we could easily solve that by rearranging and redirecting the traffic flow. And we could redirect and we could grow some landscaping to help deflect and reduce the headlights. And as soon as they got that, the resistance went down. And now you see, as you drive by, there's a new Starbucks there, beautiful white building, and the neighbors are very happy. So it's what I do. It's I bring people to this Naperville. And when you sit down and talk to each other, you'll find that you're not as far apart as you originally would think. And it was brought up earlier in the introductions. There's a lot of people who want to divide us. And there isn't that much division. But boy, they will make hay of every little division. And if we focus on what unites us, we'll be much better off. Again, I'm John Krummen, and when you see my signs about town, I'm the guy with the red K. Thank you.
Thank you for those inspiring words. So now we're going to open up for our kind of questioning and answer forum. So remember to the audience to please private message me and Will all of your questions so that we can get them answered. But our first questions are going to be from our students. So without further ado, I'll turn it over to first to Hillary.
Hi, I am Hillary Sun, and I am 12 years old, and I'm 7th grade. I go to Westview Hills Middle School. And to start off, here's a bit of an open-ended question for both of you guys. What is the single most pressing issue in Naperville currently? How would you address those issues?
Well, I think two of them are most important, but you asked me for one, so let me say the two, and then I'll focus on one. I think sustainability right now is a huge issue.
I agree with John on a lot of those statements, and I'd like to think that the way the city of Naperville can assist its residents in these difficult times most effectively and efficiently is through city services. I support the executive order from the Naperville City Council and Mayor to relax ordinances to help provide financial relief to residents and businesses affected by the pandemic. And I like what they're doing in terms of relief through those city services. What I particularly like about it is its speed and efficiency. When they give that relief, we don't have to set up a whole new agency. We don't have to cut checks. They just reduce your electric bill, reduce your water bill, and I can't think of a better way to get that relief to people quickly and efficiently. And not only does that help residents, it helps businesses who are also paying utility bills for the most part. And it just reaches the vast majority of people. I can think that maybe it doesn't reach homeless people, but we have quite a few programs for them as well. So I love that program. I love how efficient and effective it is. And I think it's very financially sound, as well as reaching the most people possible, both residents and businesses. So I applaud the city council and the mayor for approving those items, and I hope they continue to do so. Thank you.
Awesome. Our next question is from Emily.
Hi, I'm Emily. I'm a 7th grader at Gregory Middle School. And both of you are more than capable of facilitating key changes to the way that the city conducts its businesses. As leaders, we expect changes and reforms to be made wherever they are necessary. With that being said, if you had to make a diagnosis, are there any overarching trends in the way that Naperville currently stands or operates that you see as troubles?
Well, I think we already covered, I think we both agreed on what was most important, and that was the pandemic. But if I had to say something else, for me, the most troublesome issue that I see happening in Naperville is the rise of political partisanship. I think this is a big problem, especially as a so-called insider. My current office is nonpartisan, the Naperville District 203 School Board. The office that I am pursuing is also nonpartisan, Naperville City Council. As a District 203 School Board member, I took great pains to work for all students and to advocate for all residents. My central campaign slogan was to improve educational outcomes and opportunities for all students in a financially responsible way. And I succeeded on many levels by maintaining outstanding academic achievement and reducing property taxes. I never asked a student about what party their parents supported. I welcomed all students and tried to provide them with educational opportunities. I will do the same at the City Council. John and I have both attended a variety of forums, and some of them were highly partisan. I don't have a problem with their partisanship. They're proud of it. They should be. I'm not asking them to apologize for it. But what I would ask them to do is to encourage office holders and candidates to serve in a nonpartisan way, because that's what everyone needs and wants. And not to put words in John's mouth, but I assume he agrees with this wholeheartedly. Thank you.
I will agree. This is now my fifth, actually, and last election for Naperville City Council. I ran in 11 and did not win. I ran in 13 and did not win. I did win, however, in 15 and in 17, and this is be my last election here. I still have so much more to do. I feel that I'm just getting started. That being said, yeah, there is a trend, and it's at that point where people don't want to listen. I'm getting beat up from both the left and the right because I talk to both the left and the right, and so that trend is not good. Also, I think as a whole, though, the city is run very well. We ended this fiscal year. Actually, you would think our budgets would be hurt because there's less tax dollars coming in. Through a lot of technical reasons, we actually ended up the $2 million in the better, in the green, in the black, not the red. So, yeah, the partisanship, you got to be able to talk to people. When I have an idea, there's there's 8 city councilmen plus the mayor, and all our votes count the same, and so there's 9 votes. If I want something to move forward, I've got to get 5 hands in the air. I got mine, and I can be as right as rain and hold my ground. But if I can't get another 4 hands in the air, it's not going to go anywhere. So I have to learn to compromise, and I've done that over the last 6 years on city council.
Awesome. Now our next question is going to go to Parikh.
Hi, my name is Parikh. I live in Lyle and I'm a 6th grader with Kennedy Junior High, and I'm 12 years old. Without further ado, let's proceed on. The question. A Naperville Area Chamber of Commerce survey from October of 2020 underscored that 30% of Naperville restaurants had enough money to stay open for up to 5 months. We are now coming up on 5 months since that survey was published. So what are your plans for reinvigorating Naperville businesses, especially in the downtown area, which are heavily impacted by this pandemic?
I think, first of all, we spoke about abating utility bills. And what that means is they're not due now. They won't be due until July. So that gives businesses some breathing room that way. I think the other thing is that we need to have events downtown once we are allowed to come together again and not be so social distance. I guess social inclusion maybe is the right word. And when we can do that, we should have event after event after event just to drive people downtown and get people used to being out and about some more. Go ahead, Paul.
Thank you. Changes from the pandemic in consumer behaviors are here to stay. Telecommuting may be here to stay. We need to have the adaptability and vision to project how the city needs to evolve. When I look at the Naperville website, I see 6 pages of awards and accolades. The newest one, and I'm sure you've all seen them. I mean, we're famous for best place to raise a family in America and so on. But the newest one I've seen is best place from which to work from home. This is the kind of forward-thinking branding that we need. Ultimately, consumers will decide what businesses and services they wish to support. And as they do, I think our population, our businesses, and our can-do attitude will help Naperville, grow, survive, and thrive into the future. Thank you.
So as a follow-up question, even as the COVID infection rate slows, how would you handle a transition back to more normal rates of foot traffic, all while ensuring people stay safe?
As we gradually evolve through post-pandemic times, I see this as a gradual process in that we don't have the capability to deliver the vaccine to everyone simultaneously. So the vaccine's being delivered in phases. So first we did the first responders, now we're doing the most vulnerable populations. And I'm sorry to tell you, but you young people are way down there on the list in terms of receiving a vaccine. I don't think there is even a vaccine that's approved for 16 and under. So as people gradually become vaccinated, we're going to return to some semblance of normalcy again in phases. And in doing so, we'll be able to do it.
You know, I'm not a doctor, right? I'm an engineer. I'm a economics professor. I listen to experts. You know, when I go get my teeth worked on, I listen to the dentist. They know what they're talking about. So in this case, I would follow the CDC guidelines, right? Try to wear a mask, try to stay 6 feet apart, and wash your hands often. And until everyone can get vaccinated, that seems to be our best defense. And as we said, you know, when we start to be able to come out of this, and we will come out of it. Now that's the good news, right? We will come out of this. That we can socialize again, and then we can start the economy back up again, and you know, people can work. Whatever normal is, people can work again. Thank you.
All right. We're going to go back to Emily for our next question.
Due to technological advancements and progressive use of automation over the years, jobs are also advancing at an unprecedented pace and skill. Mr. Krummen, I understand that you value innovation and technology highly.
Yes.
So if you were to be reelected, what plans do you have that would bring innovative businesses and jobs to Naperville?
Wonderful question. I can't tell you how happy I am to have that. So I mentioned I used to work for General Motors, and I used to drive Corvettes around the GM Proving Grounds. Well, the key word there is used to. I've watched 3 automotive plants shut down through globalization and technology changes. I came out here originally 17 years ago to work with the Caterpillar plant out in Aurora, and I watched it shut down. And so innovation is always changing, and it's always, you know, and you have to stay fluid. And that in part is one reason why I'm an economics professor, because engineering jobs, you know, manufacturing is not as prevalent as it once was. That being said, I have a technical background, and when I talk engineer to engineer, I get that, and I can talk business person to business person with my MBA experience, and I get that well. You know, in interviews with companies, I always say I speak all the functional languages. You put me in a room of accountants, and I understand what they're saying. You put me in a room of engineers, and I understand what they're saying. And you put me in a room of marketing people and sales, and I understand because I've been there. It's that understanding of all the functional areas and understanding what a business is trying to do, especially technology businesses. You know, we have lots of people on city council with lots of different professional backgrounds. You know, but you know, is someone without a technical background able to understand the technology and the business that can come here? So that is one of the main platforms I actually run on, is that I can help bring technology jobs here because I speak the language of technology. Go ahead, Paul.
John, I think that question was just for you, if I'm not mistaken.
It was kind of teed up pretty nicely, wasn't it?
Yeah, Paul, if you want to go ahead and answer, you can as well.
Okay. I came to Naperville to work at Bell Labs some 30 years ago. It's not there anymore, much like John mentioned. I work in IT. I'm a network engineer, and I've had to adapt my skills to remain employed and relevant.
Yes.
Technology changes oh so rapidly. And what you learned and have experience with from 6 months ago can often be not a job credential in the future. You have to keep learning, you have to keep training, and you have to keep adapting to what the market wants. And I foresee Naperville being able to do this. And this is where I really like to leverage young people. I'm sure you've all heard of Greta Thunberg and her impassioned pleas regarding global warming. Well, I'm looking for Naperville's Greta Thunberg to reach out to the big 5 technology companies, including Microsoft, Google, Apple, Facebook, and Amazon, to bring their businesses here. I would love to have that type of technology leader here in Naperville. We have a great town. We have exceptionally qualified workers, educated folks everywhere, some of the best. And if Napervillians and especially young people can become champions for our brand and for what we have to offer, I think we can attract that kind of business here and reinvigorate our participation in what was formerly the high-tech corridor. Thank you.
If I can add just a bit, a piece of advice, because there are so many young people on the call. You go to school and you think, you're going to go be one thing. And then, in my case, I did. I went to be an engineer. I became an engineer. And by the time I was 40, I had to change. So for a good, honest, 17 years, I was a very good, solid, working on some incredible technology in cars and manufacturing. And you have to change. And it's Darwin's theory, right? It's not the strongest or the fastest that survive, but those who can adapt to change quickest. And as you look at your careers, whatever they may or may not be, and as you try to go into life, there are going to be many changes that come your way, and you're just going to have to be flexible. And I think your generation is going to have to be more flexible than ours, and our generation had to be more flexible than our parents. So flexibility is key. Thank you.
Thank you. As a follow-up, do you have any plans for creating jobs to help workers recuperate after the devastating economic effects of this pandemic?
Paul, you mind if I go first?
Not at all.
Okay. There's the NDP, which is the Naperville Private or Development Partnership, NDP. I got too many acronyms in my mind. Anyway, their job is to go out and find jobs and find people to come and companies to come. One of the big wins that we've had, and we've worked on this for 5 years, was to bring Costco in. And I think they were taught where they were working on them before I got there. I knew of it when I came on council that I didn't know before. And this is the Costco that's up near Ogden and Naper Boulevard. So that's one way. You bring businesses in like that and you have workers work for Costco. The other is technology. How do you go out and get them and bring them in? And that's the work of the NDP. I have a very solid relationship with them and work well with all the board members and the employees. That is their job to go do that. And I support them in every way possible. Go ahead, Paul.
Well, I think I've already answered that question as part of my previous answer. So I'll ask you to go to the next question.
Awesome. The next question is going to go to Parikh.
As the coronavirus pandemic is hopefully winding down, there are a couple key areas of public policy that will be impacted by the transition back to normalcy. Seeing as your platform emphasizes public safety as a central component and our leaders should prioritize those things. Mr. Leong, you just told us about the importance of those vaccines. Can you elaborate on your specific plans relating to them?
Okay, first off, I have never said that safety is my number one concern. As a school board member, my number one concern is educating students. Although safety is way up there also, I would say number two. Safety is also very important to me. What I need to see as a parent and as a school board member, in terms of return to learn, is one, I need to see effective testing and follow-up. And two, I need to see effective vaccines. Both of these need to be deployed at a high rate, preferably at 90% or better, for me to feel safer. So that's where I place this priority in my hierarchy. We need to be safe, and we need to educate students. There's a fit that goes into there, and different people feel comfortable or uncomfortable across this entire spectrum. Some people feel they can go back to school now and be safe. Some people need more reassurances. And as a school board member, I'm trying to create good options for people along that spectrum. I don't think I'm ever going to make everyone happy, but at least I think I'm trying to make people less angry about it. Thank you.
So I understand the question a little differently than Paul, and I think the question was focused on public safety. So that's how I'm going to address the question. And if I mismarked, I apologize. Safety is my job is to make sure that the police and the fire have the adequate tools, training, and support, right? It's my job to support them so they can do their job. It's not my job to put out the fire. It's my job to make sure they have the right trucks and the right hoses and whatnot to do that. As that, I've actually taken part in Firefighter 101, where I've actually worn the gear, I've actually climbed a ladder, I've actually put out a fire using the fire hose, and I swung an axe. And it's hard work. It is hard work to be a fireman and a policeman. And I'm happy to announce that I have been endorsed by the Professional Firefighters Union of Naperville. I think either for the third or fourth time. I haven't looked that up yet, but I've got a long history with them, and it's very solid. And I'm happy that we have that solid relationship. But keeping people safe is our number one priority, whether that's from crime, fire, or currently the COVID health. And again, I'm not a health professional. The city does not have a health department. And so we have to default to the county, who does have a health department, the state, who has a health department, and the CDC, that has obviously a health department. Thank you.
All right, our next question is going to go back to Hillary.
We know that in local politics, any law that are passed or choices that are made can change the ways that residents go about their lives, from tax policy to traffic policy. In your last term, what was the single most impactful decision in the council made? And can you briefly explain to us in lawman's terms that affects the everyday lives of residents?
Paul, you want to go with this one, or you want me to?
I think I went first last time. I'll let you take a shot.
Okay, all right. So the most important, that's a hard question to ask. I will say the one that maybe most affects you all because you're students. I am a big proponent or a big anti-proponent, whatever the term is. I hate cigarettes. My wife passed from cancer. She did not pass from a tobacco-based cancer. But I spent a good, honest 2 years in a cancer ward. And you will never forget that. 5 minutes is 5 minutes too long. And the fact that cigarettes is a leading cause of cancer, I hate cigarettes. And so long story short, we treat all vaping materials like cigarettes. And I was a proud proponent of those laws. And so you have to be 21 to buy vape product in Naperville. And if anyone is on the call, do not do it. I don't care how cool or sexy it looks. You can't imagine what a cancer ward in a hospital looks like, but it's not fun. And so I was very proud of that. And I think because I have so many young people on the call, that's why I'm answering that one as the anti-vaping rules that I pushed and I championed. I couldn't be more proud of.
I can't say that I approved anything on the city council, but I will tell you what affects me those deeply in my elected office, and that is probably the worst part of my service, and that is student discipline. Nobody goes to the school board to try to decide student discipline. It is arguably the worst part of my job, and it has deep and long-ranging effects on young people. I have lost sleep over these decisions, and I can't talk about them due to student privacy and family privacy. But I have to look at these decisions in terms of how it might affect the entire body of students and their safety. And these are very difficult choices. So what I'm proud to say about it is the only type of decisions that come to the board are expulsions. As a non-board member, I didn't understand the long-reaching effects of what an expulsion would do to a student. My understanding now is they lose standing or good standing with all public schools in this great United States. So basically, if Naperville school expels you, you can't go to public school anywhere in this United States. You might be able to pay for a private school if they allow you in, and your only other option is to be homeschooled. I did not know that before I ran for office, and that is a very difficult thing to do to a young person. As a parent, I know my kids make mistakes constantly. They're young, they're inexperienced, they're learning, they're being educated, they're growing, they're evolving. And as a parent, I would ask regularly, and I do ask regularly, for them to be given another chance. I hope they can do better. I hope they can learn. And as a board member, I am proud to tell you that in my term, and I believe for the last 13 or 14 years, District 203 has not expelled a single student. We have sought out other facilities for them so that we don't have to, if I may use the term, harm their lives. I want them to have another chance to learn, to grow. They're kids. So that's, in my mind, the most impactful thing that I do while on the board. Thank you.
Great. Our next question is going to go to Parikh.
Mr. Leong, I know that you've been doing a lot of great work on the Board of Education, and we've heard a lot of talk about making it out of this pandemic. As students, the biggest area of policy that we're concerned with is schooling. Do you see any developments that the pandemic would bring to our public school system as it starts to wind down? What can you tell us about any protocols or long-term changes that you discussed during your time on the board?
Well, everything I discuss on the board is public record as part of open session. Everything that's discussed in closed session, I can't discuss at all. But I do understand students are very curious and concerned about those decisions. Many of them are difficult. And as John was saying, not everyone on the board is a healthcare professional. So we often lean on, whether it's the DuPage County Board of Health, the State of Illinois Board of Health, the Illinois State Board of Education, and in some cases even federal resources to guide us through the pandemic times. We don't always agree with them, and we hear the parents who don't agree with those recommendations. But we still have to carry on and try to protect all students, all parents, and all residents. As part of a very large system of government, we are encouraged very much to cooperate with other levels of government so that we aren't directly in opposition and fighting their efforts. In an ideal world, we'd all try to get on the same page and move forward, together so that we can all, in this case, be healthy, return to normal life, and so on. This is not satisfactory to everyone. So as I try to govern, I try to make as many good options available to students and parents as possible. When I look at this pandemic situation, I see this very broad spectrum of want. So one group of people on one side, they want return to school 5 days a week, full time. On the other side, we have people who want to remain remote for a very long time, maybe never returning. And I can't make those two groups on the extreme ends happy, but I try to create options for both of them that provide quality education. And that's about the best I can do. So as we move forward through the pandemic and as vaccines become available, I hope we can return to school full time. There still may be accommodations for mask wearing, social distancing, testing. There may be vaccine requirements. In the public schools right now, we have a whole slew of vaccine requirements. I'm sure at every time you went to a new school, whether it's preschool, elementary school, junior high, or high school, you have to fulfill all these public health vaccine requirements. It's for everyone. But by the same token, we do allow some people to not be covered by those requirements. And sometimes that's for religious purposes, personal objections, and so on. So again, these are the options we try to provide. But for a really good public health situation, I would look towards a very high compliance rate with testing and a very high compliance rate with what I hope are effective vaccines for, especially for young people. And right now we're not in that situation. So we're going to have to let that come to us for a bit. And we're going to have to educate people both at the student level and at the parent level so that they can embrace the kind of public health initiatives that we are offering. Thank you.
I would just say that as soon as we can get you all back in class, the better. And as long as we can do that in a healthy way, the better. Um, I'm not on school board. It's not my decision, but I would favor anything that gets you back to school as healthy as possible. Thank you.
Awesome. And then our next question, I guess this will be our final question before we move to audience Q&A. Our next question and final question is going to be from Emily.
Mr. Krummen, I know that you have been a big part of sustainability and clean energy initiatives before, and you strongly emphasize some of that background in your vision. So do you have any upcoming plans with respect to saving the environment in Naperville? And what is your authority on the city council in promoting more eco-friendly energy initiatives?
Oh gosh, yes. So let me just say that through my efforts, I've championed the creation of the Sustainability Task Force and the creation of a sustainability full-time employee, so you can concentrate it directly. So I mentioned I used to work for General Motors. General Motors just recently announced that by 2035 they're going to go full electric. And just bear with me when I tell you this. That's huge for a company that big, so focused on internal combustion engines. To abandon internal combustion engines is just, it's dramatic shift. It's unbelievable. The amount of heartache that GM is going to go through to do that. It also happens to be the year 2035 is when Naperville will be allowed to get out of their contract with IMEA. Now, whether we do or not is still to be determined because it's not 2035. But we need to move now because, in essence, if you go all electric vehicles, all you're doing is going from gas-powered vehicles to electric-powered vehicles. But electric is powered right now on coal. I'm sorry, powered on coal. Roughly, the difference is 90%, or the breakout is 90% coal, 10% renewable. And there's real no technology right now beyond to cover all the demand that will come from electric vehicles except coal. So we got to move now, and we can't wait, and it's urgent. And I know it's not on some people's radars, but it's definitely on mine. And what I see is more distributive energy. Instead of getting all our power from a central power plant down near St. Louis, it will actually come from, solar panels on your house and community solar, where instead, your neighborhood would have solar panels somewhere in the neighborhood, and all the houses would be able to generate or to take part in some of that energy that's created. But the answer is definitely distributive energy. What that actually looks like is still to be determined. But we got to move now, because moving from gasoline to essentially coal-powered cars, it sounds like the right thing to do, but it's actually the exact opposite thing to do for the environment. Thank you.
I agree with John regarding the contracts we have and the sources of Naperville electricity. And I see that's a very difficult position from which to operate. I do see the city council moving. I sympathize. I see that in the next 5 years, we might be able to get moving forward from 10% renewable energy to 25, and I support that effort. But again, there aren't too many options in the next 10 years even for us to really make a big change on that without enormous expense to the consumers of electricity in Naperville. If I get the message that that's the direction the residents and voters want to go, and if they can tolerate fairly large increases to their rates, I'm willing to listen to it and discuss it. I hear you.
That won't happen. Go ahead. Tolerance in this day and age.
I'm just willing to listen.
It's-
If they say they can tolerate, a doubling of the rates,
Yeah.
I'll listen. Then maybe we
Okay.
can pay our way out of the contract or buy our way out of the contract, but that's going to be expensive. I don't see any reasonable cost solution to get there without massive financial support.
That's why we got to act now, if I may, Paul. That's why we got to act now in distributed energy, right? We got we got to have power plant, and we got to have solar panels and windmills throughout the country, throughout the area, and also locally through community solar. I think that's a key part of the solution, right? Not the total solution, but a key part of the solution.
Thank you.
Awesome. So
Yeah,
it looks
sorry,
like,
didn't step on you, Paul.
No,
If I
I'm
did,
good.
I apologize.
I'm good.
okay. It looks like we have time for maybe 2 questions from the audience. So I'm just going to go into my chat. First question from a member of the audience is that I know you both care a lot about bipartisanship, breaking through gridlock, cooperation. Are there any specific steps or actions you would take to combat polarization in the city council or reach across the aisle in local politics in general?
Paul, you want to go first?
Sure. I mean, I think we touched on this briefly earlier, and I think we discussed how we both think this is a big problem. And in terms of getting anything done, as you've said, you have to be able to work with the other people. And that is difficult sometimes, but that's the need. I believe it is possible to disagree with someone and not dislike them or be angry at them, but at the same time be able to listen to them. And in doing so, hopefully you can work towards some form of compromise, as you've mentioned. And sometimes that's the best you can do. As a 4-year experience, I know that's only a newbie, elected official, that's what we struggle with on a continuous basis. There are many voices. Many voices need to be heard, and they need to be, you have to take into account their needs in order to make good decisions. One example I like to give is I'm a big Second Amendment fan. I think the Second Amendment is very valuable, and I think the founding fathers thought it was very valuable. However, when voting on the school board, when there was a Second Amendment issue that came before the board, I voted in unanimous fashion with the board to reject the idea of arming the teachers. And that is in direct opposition to some of my personal beliefs. I have great sympathy for the situations downstate for small districts that don't have a lot of law enforcement. But I listened to the constituents who came out in force to tell me that's what they wanted. And my fellow board members reminded me the downstate districts did not elect me, and I listened to them. I mean, the other board members and the constituents. And even though, like I said, my personal beliefs are, I'm a big supporter of the Second Amendment, I went against some of those beliefs to best represent constituents, parents, students, and so on. Thank you so much.
I think you can see it here. How do you see Paul and I, we don't agree on every issue. Of course not. But look how we're addressing each other and how our manners toward each other. And so I think, that goes a long way, and just being personable and being polite and understanding. I'm not stepping over him. He's not stepping over me. He's not telling everyone I'm a son of a gun. I'm not telling everyone he's a son of a gun. We're conducting ourselves in a professional manner. And I think the more people do that, the more those who don't will be singled out and seen as unprofessional.
I couldn't agree more. And I think when I look at what John has done over the years, I don't agree with every single one of his votes. I don't think he'd agree with every one of my votes, but I know he's serving. I don't think he's getting rich from his service.
No.
And again, even if I disagree with some of what he's done, I appreciate his service because I have some idea as to what it takes in terms of time, commitment, effort, work. I I see his passion and I see how he approaches his service. And even if I disagree with him in some things, I respect that and I thank him for
Thank
that
you.
service. That's the best way I can put it.
I'm gonna quote you on that, Paul. So, and it's the same in return. The same in return.
It's the truth. I'm not trying to win John. Oh, I wouldn't mind having John's vote. That's not the purpose of that statement. It's
Understood.
just that. I
Understood.
mean, I disagree with some of my fellow board members. There are votes that go my way and there are votes that do not. But I
Mhm.
know that they are serving. They are volunteers with little or no compensation. And they're putting in all this effort and preparing for these meetings and trying to do what's best for students, parents, and Naperville. And so even when I disagree with them, you got to love them, right? I mean, how can you not?
Gotta love
It's just got to love
it.
them. They're really trying hard. And all that effort comes from a really good place, in my opinion.
Awesome. So it looks like we've kind of reached our 1 hour. So I'm going to call on our last student to give like a final closing address. And at the end, both of you guys can kind of make a final remark or a final comment, and then we'll be done for the night. So Hannah, you can go ahead.
Thank you. Hello, I'm Paul Leong. I'm a 7th grader attending Kennedy Junior High. I was born here in Naperville, and I'll be closing for the night. Democracy comes from the Greek word demos, meaning people, and kresha, meaning power, promising power to the people. If the people do not exercise that power, democracy quickly becomes meaningless. These days, a lot of emphasis is placed on state and national elections, but it's the local elections that really directly affect your lives. That's why it's so important to cast your vote in this upcoming local election. After all, a responsive democracy requires responsible citizens. Each Naperville resident has the same civic responsibility. I hope that this meeting inspires people of all ages to get involved with the local politics scene, whether that be volunteering, phone banking for specific candidates, or just spreading the word. Thanks so much to the candidates who are running for council, Mr. Paul Leong and Mr. John Krummen, for coming out tonight for this forum, and for volunteering and serving our communities tirelessly. Thanks to Youth Voices leadership, who made this event possible, and letting the students of Youth Voices have an opportunity to practice what they've been learning. And last but not least, thanks to everyone who came and listened. To the adults in the meeting, remember to perform your civic duty by exercising your right to vote in this upcoming election. Your votes in this election are so important because the issues the City Council will be deciding on will directly affect you, your family, your friends, and your neighbors. Only about 25% of registered voters are projected to vote in this local election, so each vote counts for so much more. If you want to say in the going-ons of your community, the easiest way to make your voice heard is through the ballot box. Whether you choose early voting, which begins as soon as February 25th, voting by mail, or voting in person on Election Day, which is April 6th, there's no excuse for apathy. However you may choose to vote, remember that every vote counts. Like Barack Obama once said, there is no such thing as a vote that doesn't matter. His words hold doubly true in this election because every single vote has so much more power. If you wish to support either of these local candidates, you can donate or learn more at voteleong.com for Paul Leong, or Krummen for Council for John Krummen. Again, thank you all for coming, and good.
Right. Thank you
Paul,
so
would you like me to go first, or would you like to go first in our closing marks? Oh, I'm sorry. Go ahead.
Have at
No
it,
worries,
John.
no worries.
So again, I'm John Krummen. You'll see my signs about town. I'm the guy with the red K. Most of the students I know are too young to vote. But I do have a group of high school students from Nequa who do canvass for me. So if you would so desire to knock on doors or drop off literature at certain houses, please contact me. Talk to your parents. Say, you know, you thought I'd be good, and would like to support me. Word of mouth is always key. And I thank you for everyone's time, and good luck. So thank you.
Thanks, John. My first job out of college was as an FDIC bank examiner. This is kind of an auditor. I'm that guy who was chasing George Bailey at his savings and loan in It's a Wonderful Life. And that job really ingrained in me this idea of the duty of financial responsibility and how you should approach protecting or spending other people's money. That is really a part of my core. And I know I go on a lot about it, preaching all this financial responsibility, but all the other great things that government can do, they need often resources to accomplish any of these goals. And that's what I think that kind of financial responsibility enables. I see this in the contrast between District 203 and District 204. Both are outstanding districts, and I'm so proud of both of them. But as a part of the District 203 board, I see that we just have a lot more resource to spend on education, programs, initiatives, and so forth. And that's really what hammers home to me the idea of how important this idea of financial responsibility is. The reason we can do all of that is because leaders who came before me set the standard for financial responsibility. They left me a very large surplus to work with. So we can weather things like emergencies, pandemic situations, testing, whatever it is. We have the resource to deal with it. If the state of Illinois pushes the teacher pension liabilities back onto District 203, we can pay it. We don't need to go to referendum. We don't need to raise property taxes and so forth. And this is the kind of discipline I'd like to bring to the city council. Now, I'm not saying they've done a bad job. What I'm saying is, on the whole, they've done a good job, and I'd like to contribute and do no harm there as well. Thanks very much.
Thank you.
All right, awesome. And then with that, I guess our candidate forum is going to wrap here. So thanks to everybody for being here. And just like Hannah said, remember to vote. And thank you to Mr. Leong and Mr. Krummen for taking time out of their schedules to be here with us and talk to us young people and us residents. We wish you awesome luck on the trail, and we hope to see you soon. Thank you.